I used to hate looking in the mirror. I'd stand there, arms crossed, examining every little thing I thought was wrong with me, my skinny frame, my awkward posture, my face that seemed to scream ordinary in a sea of confident smiles. I was the kind of kid who never got picked first for sports, never had people lining up to sit with me at lunch, and somehow, by the time high school rolled around, I was practically invisible. People didn't even notice me half the time, and honestly, I kind of liked it that way. Being invisible was safe. Being noticed, terrifying. But there was this constant itch, this whisper inside me, that maybe I didn't have to feel like this forever. Maybe, just maybe, I could be someone else, a version of me that could actually walk into a room and feel alive instead of shrinking into the walls. I never said that out loud. I didn't even fully admit it to myself. All I knew was that something had to change. And one day, I finally decided it would. It started small. I saw a YouTube tutorial on skincare and laughed at myself for even caring. But then I tried it. A gentle face wash, a moisturizer, a dab of concealer to hide my dark circles. I remember looking at my reflection that first night and thinking, not terrible. It wasn't a miracle, but it was a start. And for the first time in forever, I felt a tiny flicker of hope. Next came my hair. I'd always shoved it under a hat, hated the way it flopped around my face, like it was conspiring with the world to make me look awkward. One rainy afternoon, I decided to cut it something simple, but neat, framing my face. The hairdresser, a woman with sharp eyes and a soft voice, told me, "You've got good features. Show them off." I laughed nervously. No one had ever said that to me before. Walking out of that salon, I didn't feel like the same person. I felt lighter. Somehow, more visible. Clothes were next. My wardrobe had always been a pile of loose, bland tees and baggy jeans that screamed hide me. But I started experimenting. I found colors that made my eyes pop, cuts that made my posture look taller, more confident. I remember buying my first fitted blouse. It felt strange against my skin at first, almost rebellious. But when I looked in the mirror, I didn't just see fabric. I saw possibility. I saw someone I might actually like. The biggest change, though, was how I carried myself. It sounds ridiculous, but just learning to stand up straight, to meet someone's eyes without flinching, made a world of difference. I practiced in front of mirrors, in empty rooms, in the silence of my own apartment. I tried walking as if I belonged in my own skin, instead of as if I were apologizing for taking up space. And slowly, the world started responding. People smiled back. People listened. People noticed. School was a battlefield. I'll admit it, I was terrified of being judged. But the first time I walked into class wearing a bright, soft sweater and a pair of jeans that fit just right, I felt a little spark of defiance. I felt alive. I saw friends I hadn't talked to in months glance at me and do a double take. I saw my reflection in the cafeteria window and thought, "You're here now. And it's your turn." But transformation isn't just about the outside. The hardest part was the inside, the voices that said I wasn't good enough, that this was silly, that I'd fail. I fought them every day. There were nights I cried, nights I wanted to give up, nights I wore the clothes and the hair and the smile and still felt nothing. But each time, I forced myself to try again. And each time, I discovered something new, something I could do, something I could be proud of. One afternoon, my best friend pulled me aside. "You're glowing," she said, and I almost laughed at how much I didn't recognize myself in that phrase. But then I realized she wasn't wrong. I was glowing, not like some magic trick, but like someone who had wrestled with self-doubt and come out standing. Like someone who had found courage in the quietest, most persistent way. The real test came at the end of year dance. I had been dreading it, imagining the cruel jokes, the snickers behind my back. But I decided to go anyway. I wore a dress that I had never imagined myself in, a soft pastel that made my skin shine. My hair curled just so, my makeup subtle, my posture confident. And when I stepped into that gymnasium, I didn't shrink. I didn't disappear. I walked in, head high, shoulders back, and for the first time, I felt like the center of my own story. People noticed. Some smiled, some whispered, some stared. But I didn't care. Because I saw myself, reflected in the gym mirrors and in the eyes of those around me, as someone brave, someone real, someone undeniably me. I danced, I laughed, I even talked to people I had once avoided. And in that moment, I realized that transformation isn't just about changing how the world sees you. It's about finally seeing yourself, fully, and loving what you see. The journey wasn't perfect. I stumbled, I faltered, I questioned every step. But every tear, every anxious moment, every tiny victory led me to the swan I had always dreamed of becoming. The ugly duckling wasn't erased, she was honored, remembered, and transformed. And the best part? I knew now that this glow, this confidence, this love for myself, wasn't just a fleeting thing. It was permanent. Because it had been earned. Looking back, I can say this with certainty. The real magic wasn't in the haircuts, the makeup, the clothes. It was in the courage to try, to fail, to try again. It was in the quiet moments of reflection, the tiny rebellions against fear and doubt. It was in the unwavering decision to become someone I could love. And now, when I pass a mirror, I smile not because I'm perfect, not because the world has changed, but because I finally see the person I was always meant to be. And that, more than anything else, is beautiful. I remember the night before the dance like it was a scene from a movie I couldn't pause. My room was quiet except for the hum of the heater and the soft shuffle of my wardrobe as I rifled through outfits for the third time. I held that pastel dress up to the light, tracing the delicate fabric with my fingers, feeling this mix of excitement and terror. Can I really do this? I whispered to myself. My reflection in the mirror didn't answer, it just stared back, steady and patient, like it had been waiting for this night for years. The next morning, I woke up early, almost reverently. Every step felt deliberate, brushing my hair, carefully curling the ends, choosing the perfect pair of shoes that made me feel taller, more alive. I even practiced my smile in the mirror, the one I had never dared to give freely before. It wasn't fake, it was tentative, shy, unpolished, but it was mine. When I got to the gymnasium, the room buzzed with fluorescent lights, chatter, and the low thump of music warming up. For a moment, panic gripped me, the old voice of fear screaming in my head, telling me to turn around, to go home, to hide. But I caught my reflection in the row of windows lining the hallway. I saw a girl standing tall, soft curls bouncing, eyes bright with courage, and I couldn't turn away. The first few steps inside were like walking on ice. Eyes flicked toward me, whispers floated past, and my stomach flipped. But then a strange thing happened. I realized I wasn't shrinking anymore. I wasn't trying to disappear. I was moving forward. And with each step, each careful movement, I felt a little lighter, a little freer. A group of classmates smiled at me, one of them even complimenting my dress. It felt unreal, like I had wandered into someone else's life, but it was mine. I laughed softly, a sound I hadn't heard from myself in months, and it echoed like a small victory in the cavernous gym. I didn't just dance that night, I soared. Each twirl, each step, each tentative sway of my body was a statement. I existed. I mattered. And as I laughed with friends, felt the brush of shoulders, and caught eyes that were curious, admiring, friendly, I realized that transformation wasn't just about the way I looked. It was about the way I felt inside. Later, I stepped out onto the balcony, the night air crisp and forgiving. I looked down at the streets, at the tiny specks of light below, and for the first time, I felt like I belonged somewhere, not just in a place, but in a life I could call mine. My hands brushed against the soft fabric of my dress, and I smiled, feeling the full weight of my journey. I thought about the days I had hidden, the nights I had cried, the endless mirrors that had reflected nothing but fear. And I realized, the ugly duckling never went away. She was there, always, quietly urging me forward. And now, she had become a swan, not because the world decided, not because anyone else had noticed, but because I had chosen to rise. The real moment of clarity came when my best friend pulled me aside again, later that night, and whispered, "You look happy. Truly happy." And in that single phrase, I understood something essential. Transformation isn't a dress, a haircut, or even a glow. Transformation is permission. Permission to see yourself, permission to grow, permission to step into the light without apology. On the ride home, I caught my reflection in the car window. My eyes sparkled from the excitement, my cheeks were flushed, my lips curved naturally into a smile. I realized I didn't even recognize the girl staring back, yet at the same time, she felt like me. The real me. The me I had been scared to meet, to love, to show. And in that reflection, I felt something I had never felt before, complete acceptance. The journey didn't end that night, of course. Life kept happening, awkward moments, doubts, stumbles, but now I had a new foundation. Each morning, I woke up a little stronger, a little braver. I experimented with new styles, new ways of carrying myself, new conversations. I learned that confidence wasn't a switch you flipped, it was a muscle you trained, day by day, moment by moment. And I discovered something else, something even more precious. Other people noticed when you loved yourself. They gravitated toward you, drawn to the glow that wasn't just about appearances but about courage, resilience, and authenticity. People smiled at me in ways they hadn't before. Teachers made eye contact and lingered just a second longer. Strangers complimented my voice, my posture, my laugh. And each time, I felt a spark of gratitude for the journey that had brought me here. Looking back, I don't even recognize that scared, skinny kid who hid in the shadows. She's still a part of me, yes, but now she's honored, acknowledged, and integrated into something more magnificent, a version of me that can love herself, and in turn, touch the hearts of others. I've learned that real transformation isn't about perfection. It's about courage. It's about embracing the awkward, the messy, the uncertain, and refusing to let it define you. It's about taking one tiny step, then another, until those steps carry you further than you ever imagined. And when I finally look in the mirror today, I don't see flaws or imperfections. I see a story, a journey, a battle fought and won. I see resilience. I see beauty, not just the kind the world recognizes, but the kind that lives deep inside, that glows quietly at first, then brightly enough for everyone to notice. The moral is simple: the power to change your life, to transform yourself, to rise from invisibility to presence, has always been in your hands. The world may have overlooked you, doubted you, even laughed at you, but it doesn't matter. Because the real victory is choosing to believe in yourself, even when no one else does. And when you do, when you finally step into your light, the glow you carry isn't just about being seen, it's about finally seeing yourself, fully and completely. I'm still me, of course, the girl who once hid, who once doubted, who once whispered in mirrors, afraid of who she was. But I'm also the Swan. The one who walks into a room and feels alive. The one who laughs freely, loves fiercely, and glows with a quiet, undeniable courage. And the best part? This glow isn't temporary. It's permanent. Because I earned it. Because I became it. And if you're listening to this, if you've ever felt invisible, awkward, or unworthy, know this: your swan is waiting. It's always been there, inside you, ready for the day you decide to rise. The weeks after the dance felt surreal. People were talking to me differently, not in a condescending way, but with genuine interest, curiosity, even admiration. And yet, what struck me most wasn't the attention from others. It was how I noticed myself changing in quiet, unassuming moments, laughing without hesitation, speaking up in class, even choosing to wear bright colors on a cloudy day just because they made me feel alive. One Saturday, my mom called me into the living room. I had been dreading it, unsure if she would even notice the changes, or worse, judge them. But when she looked at me, her eyes softened, and she smiled. "You look different," she said. There was no judgment in her voice, only recognition. "But good different." I laughed nervously. "Yeah. I guess I've been trying some new things." She studied me for a long moment, then reached out and touched my hair gently. "I like seeing you like this. You seem happy." Her words hit me harder than I expected. I had spent so long thinking transformation was about how the world saw me, but moments like this taught me it was also about those I loved noticing my courage, my growth, and my self-acceptance. A few days later, I met with some friends at the park. One of them had been in my life since elementary school, the one who had known me when I was invisible. She looked me up and down, a grin spreading across her face. Oh wow. You've really changed. But not in a fake way. Like, this is really you." And that's when I realized something profound. Transformation isn't about pretending to be someone else. It's about becoming who you were always meant to be, the authentic version of yourself, the one you might have been too scared to meet. As I walked through the park that afternoon, sunlight spilling over the trees and reflecting off the lake, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't known before. People passed by, some glanced, some smiled, some didn't notice at all, and I didn't care. My glow wasn't dependent on anyone else. It was mine. Pure, earned, undeniable. I even started helping others who struggled with self-doubt. Little conversations, words of encouragement, a smile when they least expected it. I realized that part of the glow came from giving it away. From showing someone else that they could rise, too, just like I had. The months rolled on, each day layering new confidence, new joy. I picked up hobbies I had once been too self-conscious to try. I experimented with clothes, with hairstyles, with ways of speaking that made me feel alive. I learned that the journey wasn't about reaching perfection, it was about embracing progress, embracing courage, embracing the messy, beautiful, human process of becoming. And one evening, as the sun set in streaks of gold and pink, I caught myself in the mirror of the hallway. My reflection smiled back, glowing softly in the fading light. I traced the outline of my face, the gentle curves of my shoulders, the way my posture now carried strength instead of fear. I remembered the shy, skinny kid who had once hidden behind baggy sweaters and hats. She was still there, part of my story, part of my resilience. But now, she had been transformed, not erased. I whispered to myself, softly but firmly, "You did it. You became you." And in that moment, I truly understood, the ugly duckling hadn't disappeared. She had grown into something magnificent. The swan she had always been waiting to become had finally emerged, graceful, confident, and radiant. Not because anyone else said so, not because the world demanded it, but because I chose it. That choice, the decision to rise, to try, to keep going even when every part of me wanted to hide, was the most beautiful thing I had ever done. And that glow, the glow that starts small and grows with every brave step, is something that stays with you forever. So if you're listening, if you've ever doubted yourself, if you've ever felt invisible, remember this: you can rise. You can grow. You can become the swan you were always meant to be. It won't be easy, and it won't happen overnight. But every small step, every act of courage, every moment you choose to see yourself clearly and lovingly will bring you closer. And when you finally stand in the light, look in the mirror, and see your own glow, you'll know it was worth every moment. Because the real transformation wasn't in the clothes, or the hair, or the makeup. It was in me. And it always will be. I am no longer invisible. I am no longer hiding. I am no longer apologizing for taking up space. I am a swan, and the journey that brought me here has made me unstoppable.